Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over this SAT exponential question, but once again, thanks to Anico.ai for providing this specific question in their free resources tab. But before I dive into the explanation, please give this a try yourself. Okay, so here we have two functions, f of x and g of x, and a and b here are constants where a is greater than b, which is greater than 0. Now, if the graph of each function is considered only for x values greater than or equal to 0, which of the following equations displays as a constant or coefficient the maximum value of the graph of the corresponding function? Okay, so first things first, right? First of all, this is an exponential question, and the entire genre of these constant or coefficient questions, I actually did go over a previous question, but this one is different because this one has constants, right? But um, the first step is to try to remove constants in a way, and because, right, these values a and b, we're not given the values, right, but we can plug them in, right? So that's why I've written here that a equals 2 and b equals 1, right? We can test values, right? Again, a could be 3 and b could be 1, like it could be anything, but I just chose these values. So once you plug in a equals 2 and b equals 1, right, let's kind of let's actually do that, right? Let's plug each of them in for each function. So f of x here, we have a equals 2, so we have 2 minus x minus 1, right? Because b is 1. That's f of x. And g of x, we have 2 minus 0.9x, right? So all I'm doing is just plugging in the constants to make it easier, right? Because we don't really want to be dealing with constants. Now, right, let's first plot these in Desmos. So here we have f of x equals 2 minus x minus 1 squared, right? And then we also have g of x. That's equal to 2 minus 0.9 to the x. Okay, let's focus on f of x first. So I'm going to remove g of x for now. So first things first, we're only looking at values where x is greater than or equal to 0, right? So we don't really care about the negative side, right? Kind of keep that in mind, right? What is the maximum value of the graph for values greater than equal to 0 for x? Well, as you can see here, right, this parabola, it goes down, right? It keeps on decreasing as x approaches infinity, as you can see. Right? It keeps on decreasing. The y value keeps on getting more negative. But you'll see that the max value is here, right? That's the highest value the graph attains before it peaks down. So the maximum value is 2, right? So we're going to write the max is 2. Okay, now let's actually get to the question, right? Which of the following equations displays as a constant or coefficient the maximum value? Well, if the maximum value is 2, right, which we just found out, right, does this function anywhere display that as a constant or coefficient? Oh, it does, right? You can see 2 is right here, right? So all these constant or coefficient talk, you just have to look for the number or value in the actual function itself. And because the max was 2, and you see there's a 2 in the question, then yeah, f of x does show, it does display the maximum value as a constant, right? So f of x does work. Let's now look at g of x, right? So once again, we're only looking at values of x greater than or equal to 0, so don't even care about the negative. Well, as you can see here, right, what is the max value of x for g of x as x continues as x gets bigger? Well, as you can see, right, I'll kind of zoom out, right, and if you trace a point along this, you'll notice that the point, right, it never actually quite reaches a max value, right? And the reason that there's no max value for g of x as x greater than or equal to 0 is because the value keeps on increasing to some extent, right? It might look like it's at 2, right? But it does actually keep on increasing because there's an asymptote, right? Uh, in fact, you could say that there's an asymptote at y equals 2, right? And it never quite actually, if you look at this, right, it never reaches the asymptote. So that's why there's no max value, right? If there's an asymptote, right, there's no max value. So that's why g of x, right, so here the max, well, there is none. And of course, if there's no max, then it's not possible to display it as a constant or coefficient. So g of x, that's ruled out. So therefore, we're left with option A only, which is 1 only. So what is the kind of overall maneuvering or strategies that you have to implement for this problem? Well, anytime you have constants and they're not, the values of those constants are not given, right? What you can do is actually make your own values up and plug it in, right? That's why I define a equals 2 and b equals 1. And after you do that, right, just plug those values into the functions, and then likewise find the max, right? In this case, it could be the min, whatever the problem is asking you. Find the max and look at what the question is asking, and you should be fine, right? So the main thing is to plug those uh, values in for the constants, right? Many people kind of see these variables and just get confused, but all you have to do is just plug random numbers in, and it should help you a lot. But once again, I hope that made sense. If it didn't, please leave any questions you have down in the comments. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.